and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another plan with me video, and this one is a special request. So this year when I do my monthly wrap-ups, I've been including mini pie charts on my monthly dot grid pages, and I've been asked quite a few times to share how I do them, and was specifically asked last month to make a video about it here on YouTube. So that's what we're doing today. I'm also going to do a quick time lapse of my April wrap-up. But first, I thought I would show you what pie charts I'm talking about. So here's a look at the ones I did in January. As you can see, I do 3 different ones based on my reading stats from that month. So I make pie charts for my star rating, the genres I read, and the format. These are just stats that I choose to turn into pie charts, but you could do anything. Here's the ones that I did in February. And again, these are the ones that I did in March. So I'm pretty consistent on how I do them every single time, and I've been asked to show my process and how I make them and how I compile them, so that's what today's video is going to be about. Before we get to that, I'm going to quickly flip through the month of April so you can get a look at how I use my planner, starting off with my calendar, which I use to keep track of my social media posts. I actually need to catch up on this a bit and go back in and add some doodles. Like I will show you with my February one, I always like to add in a little bit. And then again with January, it just adds a little something and it's fun for me to do. So I still need to do that. Then we have my April TBR and new releases page. I didn't do anything fancy with these pages. It's just the books that I maybe wanted to read since I'm a bit of a mood reader. And then we move into my weekly spreads. I'm just going to flip through these quickly since I share them on Instagram and my Facebook group pretty regularly. So if you follow me on either of those, you've probably seen them. Some of these are covered because they have some personal information I didn't really want to share, so I just cover them up because I know I share my planner quite a bit. And then on the last week of the month, I haven't quite finished it yet. As you can see, there's quite a few blank spaces I still need to go back through and do, which I'm going to do this weekend. But the empty spaces will just filled with doodles, and then obviously it's this weekend, so I haven't done any of that yet. But moving on, at the end of the month, we have the haul page and the reading wrap-up. I didn't buy any books in April, so that page is just going to be blank this month. But quickly, I'm going to fill in this wrap-up page because I'll need some of the info in order to do the pie charts, and I thought you might like to see how I fill in the page. So if you want to see me fill in my reading wrap-up, just keep watching, and then after that, we'll move into the step-by-step instructions for the pie charts. Okay, so the reading wrap-up is all finished, and we're going to move on to the pie charts. I just thought it would be interesting for you guys to see kind of how I fill in the reading wrap-up. I don't do anything crazy, as you saw. This box can change depending on if I am still like in the middle of a book at the end of the month, then I'll put that book here. But because I wasn't reading anything by the end of the month, I just put my reading goal stats there. But like I said, we're going to move on to how I do the pie charts, which is the whole purpose of this video. So before we get into the pie charts, I thought I would show you kind of some of the supplies I'm going to be using just quickly. So I have a washi tape roll here. This is what I use to draw the circles. I just trace inside of it. You could use a compass. I just find this is more accessible. I just have it on hand. I also have a ruler in case I need one. I always like to have that on hand. I have this really cheap mathematical instruments set I got from Amazon for like, I think it was $5 or $6, so very inexpensive. And this is what I bought it for, a protractor. So that's what we're going to be using today to get all of the angles of the pie charts. I also have a mechanical pencil. This is the Bic Velocity. It's one of my favorite ones. And I have my eraser, this Tombow Mono eraser. Then I have my black Le Pen. This is what I'm going to use to do all of the inking. And I also have a Uniball Sino. This is in 0.38, so it's very fine. I'm gonna use this for some of the labeling. So that's all of the tools I have to make the pie charts. Now, to get into how to calculate everything, I do this in a separate notebook. So this is what I start with. I have it broken down. I'm going to do 3 different pie charts. So I'm going to do one for star rating, one for the genres I read that month, and one for the format. So I write those all out so I have it all nice and neat. Then I just have the total up here to show you kind of how I go through this. In April, I read 6 books. And if you are doing this, you don't have to write it in a notebook. You could just do it on your own. You could do it in the planner if you want. This is just what works for me. I like to have it kind of separate. Just gonna bring up my calculator so I can do some calculations. I'm just gonna fill in the information based on kind of the information I have on my wrap up, which is why I did the wrap up first. So for star ratings, in April, I read 2 5-star books. So I'm gonna put a 2 here. I read 2 4-star books, 1 3-star book, and 1 2-star book. So, of course, it should always add up to your total number. I'm going to fill in the rest. So, for historical fiction, I read 1. Romance, I read 3. I read 1. And contemporary, I read 1. Then for format, I read 1 print book, 4 audiobooks, and 1 ebook. So, that's all of the information. So, I'm going to put this to the side just while we do the calculation. It's really, really easy. Basically, we'll start with the star rating. So I read 2 5-star books. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 2 divided by the total number of books, which was 6. And then I'm going to times that by 360 because 360 degrees is a complete circle. So 120. So that's the degrees that I'm going to do. So I'm just going to write that 120 degrees. And I'm just going to do that for all of the calculations. So for 1 divided by 6 times 360 equals 60 equals 60. And you'll know if you did it right if you add all of these up. And it equals 360, a complete circle. So you're just going to do that with all of your calculations. So I'm just going to go through and do that quickly here. And there's all your degrees. So now it's just a matter of drawing the pie charts. So we're going to put this just to the side where I can reference it. You won't be able to see it, but I can. Bring my planner back in. Get to the right page. And now I'm just going to grab my washi tape and I'm going to start with pencil because I want to make sure I get the spacing that I'm happy with. So I'm gonna try and center this as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but okay. And that spacing looks pretty good to me actually. So I've got my 3. So I'm gonna start with this one, which is gonna be my star rating. First thing I always do, I try and find the center, basically. You can do that however you want. I'm just going to draw crosshairs so that I can just get my first solid line where you can start using the protractor. So there's my center mark, and then I just have one line going to it where you can start using your protractor. So for star ratings, my 5-star ratings, the first one is 120 degrees. So I'm gonna take my protractor. I'm gonna line up this little crosshairs right there on the center dot that I made. And then I'm going to find on here 120 degrees, which just happens to be there. I'm just gonna hold my pencil there. Well, I use the edge of this to line up where my pencil is with that center dot. And then I'm going to draw a line to the edge of the circle. So that is 120 degrees. Then I'm going to do the same thing, but using this line that I just made. So the next one, I need 120 degrees again. So I'm gonna line it up with the crosshairs, find the 120 degree mark, hold my pencil there just for a minute, line it up, and draw a line. So 120, 120. Next I need 60. So I'm going to do that again. Find 60 degrees and draw a line. Go. And because the last one is 60 degrees, I can check it, but it's going to be perfect. Okay, so there's all my marks, and then you just do the same thing with all of your measurements. Next, I'm going to do genres. So I'm going to start with my biggest number just because I found that's the easiest way. So I have my mark, and the biggest one is 180, which is just straight across, but I'm gonna mark it anyways just so you can get the whole process again. I'm gonna line up the crosshairs. This is 180, should be just like a straight line. So that's what I'm gonna do. 180, pretty much half. And then I have 3 categories, all the same, which are all 60 degrees. So this second half will be split 3 ways. So that was a really relatively easy one. This month, because I read 6 books, the numbers are going to be pretty exact and relatively easy. It will depend on how many books you read and how many categories you have. That's going to change every month. Now, this last one gets a little bit more difficult because we have coil that could get in the way. You kind of have to move around it. It can get in the way sometimes, but for the most part, it's generally not too bad. So for this one, I have to do 240 degrees. So we know that this only does 180. And see, this is where it gets kind of tricky because you have the coil. If you didn't want to do 3 pie charts, you could easily get away with doing 2. Even if you wanted to do 1 and have the key off to the side, then you wouldn't run into that. But I like having the 3, so I just kind of make it work. But I know that this is just going to be 180, so I'm just gonna kind of make a mark here that I will erase later, but it's just so I can turn it around and get the full measurement. So I know that I need to add 60 degrees to the 180 to get the full 240 measurement. So I'm gonna go over here to about there. Like I said, sometimes the coil gets in the way, but I'm just gonna make it work. And I'm just gonna draw a straight line from about there. Now I can go back and erase that other mark I made. So that is the 240 degrees. Then I have 2 more measurements, both 60. I'm going to split this last one in half. There we go. So there are all of my measurements there. So now I'm just going to ink it and then I'll color it after. There we have it, all colored in. All right, last thing we're going to do is just label them. I'm going to use my gel pen. This is the Uniball Sino in the 0.38. Just gonna use this to fill in inside, and then I'm gonna put the title of the pie chart, like what it represents, using my Le Pen. One thing about using a gel pen over top of colored pencil, if that's what you're using to color it in, you will have to let it dry. And it could smear if you're using a colored pencil that's quite waxy, like the Prismacolors, like the one I use. So just try not to touch it, essentially, is what I'm saying. Just for a few minutes. while it dries. I'm just gonna fill these all in. Okay, so now they're all labeled. I'm going to take my lip pen and I'm just going to write kind of along the top curve what each one is. Okay, so now they're all labeled. I'm going to let that dry just for a second. And then I'm going to go over it with my yellow highlighter. This is the Zebra Mild Liner in the brush one. It's my favorite. But because I did the title of this and this with yellow, I kind of want to tie it all in together. Like that. And there you have it. That is a look at how I do the pie charts. Like I said, it is like really simple and really easy. I hope that this helped if you were looking at how to do them. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you found the tutorial helpful, and I hope you can use it in your own planner. And if you do, let me know. I'd love to know what you use it for, what kind of pie charts you're making in your planner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video.